My name is Jack Miller. I'm the owner of Husky Deli here, and I am honored to have Patty Murray here in my store. This is kind of stepping out for me. I don't usually do political stuff, but this is really important. I don't usually let others do this.
Come on!
Oh, it's time for me to go.
But we've been here for 80 years. My family business has been here 80 years. We've employed at least 40 people. Like, had ones for at least 40 years, at least 20 or 40 years before that. My family's huge. We've got at least 50 family members live within walking distance. All who either worked here, have their kids working here, or have worked here, or about to work here. So it's been a great ride here, and we are lucky to be in West Seattle, a great place for small businesses. We need a tax break. For tax breaks, we need to keep. I mean, most if not all of my customers are middle class. My friends that have businesses are all small business owners that aren't going to get a big tax cut. So it's really important that we work on this. And we have the Main Street Alliance here, and they're going to be doing some talking. And I think what's important is, the small businesses. If you've got a lot to compete against. Big stores. If it wasn't for decent rent and decent tax breaks or reasonable taxes, we'd all be going to the big stores with our membership cards. So I just want to thank Patty for being here. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, Jack, thank you so much for hosting us here today. I'm delighted to be in the Husky Deli as a cougar. So just so you know, it's a good experience. We only have one day a year that we're just really rivals. But it is great to be here. It smells wonderful, and welcome to all the customers and to everybody who's here today. Again, Jack, thanks for hosting us. And you're going to be hearing in a minute from Mary and Kimberly and Dean, who will all talk about this critical issue as well. Today, a lot of our middle-class families and our small business owners, just like where we are here today, are really struggling in this tough economy. I see it in every community that I travel to around the state of Washington. We have stepped back from the worst of the financial Wall Street crisis. We're beginning to move in the right direction, but there are still a lot of workers who are struggling to get a job today, whose families are fighting to stay in their home, and Main Street businesses, just like the one we're in today, are working every day just to keep their doors open. So I feel very strongly that we can't stop working to create jobs and invest in our communities and make sure that these families and business owners have the support they need to succeed. And to me, a really important part of that is making sure that the taxes that they pay don't go up on the middle class. Now, we're here today because if Congress does not act, taxes are scheduled to go up for every single American at the end of this year. I think that is truly the wrong way to go for our families and the wrong way to go for this economy here in Seattle, and I've been working very hard to stop that from happening. I was very proud to work in the Senate last month to pass a bill that would extend the tax cuts for 98% of our workers and 97% of our small business owners in the country. Our bill would make sure that taxes do not go up a single penny for the middle class. And I am urging the House of Representatives to take that bill up quickly and get it passed so middle-class families and small business owners can go into the holiday season without having to worry about their taxes going up. Now, this should not be controversial. It should be a no-brainer. Everyone agrees that tax cuts for the middle class should be extended. There's not a single senator or a member of the House of Representatives who wants taxes to go up for the middle class. It's not even a debate. So I think it makes sense for us to pass the tax cuts we all agree should be continued on the middle class. And then if some people in Congress want to have a debate about whether or not the wealthiest 1% of Americans should get a tax break, we can have that debate. But let's not leave the middle class held hostage to that now. Let's pass this, and then we can have the conversation about the wealthiest Americans. I've heard from a lot of families and small business owners about the importance of extending these tax cuts. In fact, I was out on the floor of the Senate talking just a month ago, and I told the story of a man named Dallas Baker. He happens to be a Seattle firefighter. He told me he'd been on the job for 15 years and he loves serving his community and making a difference. But he said to me, my daughters and I are all making sacrifices now. We are comfortable, but we are losing ground. He told me if taxes went up for middle-class families like his, it was going to get very hard. And I think that's true for most families here. We're going to hear more today, as I said, from Mary and Kimberly and Dean about why middle-class tax cuts are too important to be wrapped up in partisan game or election year politics. And I want them to know I'm going to take their stories back with me to Washington, D.C. and work every single day to make sure that we extend the tax cuts for the middle class before the end of this year. There are a lot of people in Congress today who talk about giving families and small businesses certainty when it comes to their taxes. Well, if the House would pass the Senate middle class tax bill, and we know, by the way, the President will sign it into law, that 98% of workers and 97% of small business owners will have the certainty they deserve. And their taxes won't go up as they head into the new year. So I would really appreciate everybody joining me here today to start educating people about the importance of this. And again, thank you so much for sharing your stories. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mary. She owns a little bookstore up the street, Mary Weather Books. It's great to have you.
Hi, my name is Mary Clark, and I own Meriwether Books here in West Seattle, right up the street. And I thank Jack for the opportunity to be here. He is a wonderful man who has done a lot for West Seattle, and Husky Deli is a fixture in the junction. I just bought my bookstore in November from the previous owner who'd been in business for 20 years. Meriwether Books is a used bookstore, and I have 2 employees, one of whom is my daughter. Although I am a new business owner, small business is not entirely new to me. I also work for Travelers Tolly House as a personnel manager. Travelers is an Indian restaurant with delicious food that's been in business for 15 years on Capitol Hill and Beacon Hill. Because of the economic downturn, they've had to close the Capitol Hill location. And they've had up to 16 employees at one time. My husband has been out of work, my daughter has health problems. Health insurance is always an issue. To run a small business is a lot of work, and it's not easy to make ends meet. A lot of used books cost less than a cup of coffee. Even businesses that have many employees can still be struggling. Some business owners with employees are taking home minimum wage or less for themselves, or nothing at all. 97% of small business owners do not earn over $250,000 a year. I think we should keep the tax cuts for the middle class and repeal the tax cuts on the wealthiest 2%. I believe that the wealthiest 2% of our country should pay their fair share to help fix the economy. It is not right for some members of Congress to claim that asking the top 2% to pay their fair share of taxes will hurt small business owners. It is dishonest. They are stealing the name of small businesses. But what they are really talking about is a tax giveaway to large corporations and the millionaires. People who do this are completely out of touch with the economic realities of running a small business. The tax cuts on the wealthiest have had terrible results for the American middle class: lack of security, rise in poverty, and enormous inequalities between the rich and the rest of the country. The amount of inequality between rich and poor has been shown to be a determining factor in the health of society. I personally will not allow my name and my business to be used for these unjust practices and policies. Thank you for the opportunity to share my perspective. I will now introduce Kimberly McCrae, a faculty member at Seattle Central Community College.
Greetings all. I'm Kimberly McCrae and I am a faculty member at Seattle Central Community College. My husband, a veteran from the first Gulf War with 2 college degrees, is just now back to work in a part-time temporary job after 18 months of unemployment. We have 3 kids. We have always planned to send our children to college. Our plan was to use our $75,000 worth of sweat equity that we put into our modest house in Renton to finance the children's education. But now, since the housing collapse, our house lost most of its value and everything we worked for is gone. Here I am. I teach at a community college and I can't even afford to give any of my 3 children the education that I help other people's children get. My backup plan was to use my 401k plan. But during the stock market collapse, the account was almost completely wiped out. To top things off, my eldest son was diagnosed with a chronic health condition when he was 11 years old. Since 2006, my health insurance and deductible costs have skyrocketed, bringing my income down to the same amount it was in 2007. It wasn't supposed to be this way. My husband and I play by the rules. We work hard. We went to graduate school. We did things right. But now as members of the middle class, we have been left behind. Congress should not hold our tax cuts hostage to continue to let the wealthy avoid paying their fair share. Our country should be doing better than that. We can do better. Thank you. I would like to thank you all for this opportunity and now introduce Dean Shelton, a firefighter from Snohomish County.
Thanks, Kimberly. Good afternoon. My name is Dean Shelton, and it's an honor for me to be speaking here today. Oftentimes I'm asked what my title is. You see, in my community I wear many different hats. Proudly, I'm a husband of a high school guidance counselor. I'm the father of a 13-year-old son. But in addition to those 2 titles, I'm also a coach, a community volunteer, and I'm privileged to call myself a firefighter serving my community. As a middle-class family, and as a firefighter, I've seen the effects of the recession from many different views. I see it as a personal view from my family standpoint, to also that as a firefighter from the front seat of my fire engine as I respond to many different calls within my community. You see, my family is not unlike any other family. We've had to make sacrifices. And as a middle-class family, those sacrifices we've seen include depreciation of our house values. We've seen concessions made by my employees and my members, including wages, hours, benefits, all of which we did to make our communities stronger and more vibrant. The other sacrifices I've seen, though, haven't always been so pretty. The sacrifices such as community members that I respond out on that have lost their jobs, that have lost their houses, that have seen tremendous financial strain put on them in which their lives have been dramatically changed, probably for a very, very long time. Working families deserve better. Working families deserve to have the confidence in spending in businesses like the Husky Deli, to send their children to college, to shop at a local bookstore. There's little doubt in my mind that firefighters know a little bit about sacrifice. Over the last 10 plus years, America has seen the sacrifices firefighters have always been willing to take. But we're not the only ones making sacrifices. See, sacrifices by other middle-class families are there too. Sacrifices like my friend the longshoreman who works the docks here in Seattle, or the police officer that works his beat day in and day out. We, as working middle class and as public servants and union members, we just want to make our communities stronger and give our children and our families an opportunity to be better in the future. America's wealthiest should not be outraged when asked to pay their fair share. The middle class needs relief, and we need to take back America. America's middle class supports each other, and we must remain vigilant in protecting our way of life and our community. As firefighters, we understand that we're only as strong as the small business owner. The middle class is not about who can rise to the top or who can race to the bottom. We are about bringing us all up to the same water level so that all of us have a quality way of life and that we can survive in the future. I will finish up with a Greek proverb that was given to me the other day, which I believe sums up why the middle class tax cuts are so vital to our communities. It reads like this: "A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit." As a middle class family and as a firefighter, we are trying to plant these trees. We know about sacrifice, and all we want is a change and a chance to improve the lives for our families and our communities. Thank you for your time, and thanks for allowing me to speak today.
Mary, Kimberly, Dean, thank you so much for expressing the viewpoint of yourselves, but really reflecting the values of so many families and communities who are struggling today and who just want their fair shake. And Jack, thank you so much for sharing your story. Your small business story is told by hundreds of people across the country. These are the people who really deserve a tax break and need one so they can get their families and their businesses back on their feet. And I think Congress ought to pass the middle class tax cut extension so they've got that certainty, and I think the wealthy should pay their fair share so our country can be strong again. That's our message to Congress, and thank you so much for helping me make it. And I especially want to thank Main Street Alliance for reminding us who small businesses really are in this country. Thank you very much to all of you.